Hi, everyone. All right, let's take a look at a different show. We've dug very, very deep into Hamilton, and Hamilton has interesting characters. Today we're talking about characterization, but so many of them aren't the focus, don't really get to grow and change. They're just there for Hamilton to bounce off of, really. It very much is the Hamilton show, or the Hamilton and Burr show, and everyone else there is being the support or the antagonist one way or the other. For some more complex characters, we can look at a different Lin-Manuel Miranda show. And yes, obviously, I mean Encanto, where we are going to talk about Bruno. We just are. All righty. So to start off with, who are our characters? We've got Abuelo, the grandfather, who died, but nonetheless is still a character. The experience of what he went through and his loss is absolutely coloring everything that Alma, Abuela, the grandma, is going through. So he's still a presence. Grandma is the matriarch. She is 100% in charge of her children, of the house, of the community that is so much based on and around this house. She is making all the decisions. She is the center of everything. But of course, the trauma that she's buried is going to end up being so important here. Abuela had 3 children who wear different colors to kind of set them apart and give viewers a hint what we're dealing with here. We've got Peppa, who, when she gets all panicky, makes the weather change. We've got Julieta, the mom, the perfect caregiver who's always feeding people things. And we've got the hidden child, Bruno. Of course, Peppa and Julieta each got married to a nice guy. The 2 nice guys they married are a bit less dysfunctional. I don't think they have superpowers. We're not hearing about their issues as much as everybody else. And they each had 3 kids. Dolores, Camillo, and Antonio on the one side, and Luisa, Mirabel, and Isabella on the other side. And this is a story about how Alma's issues got pushed down to her 3 kids and their 3 kids and 3 kids. And so all these superpowers end up reflecting their trauma, their issues. And that is the best way to do superpowers. Superpowers that are psychologically valid, superpowers that are how we feel about life, how we feel about reality. Superman was invented by 2 20-year-old immigrants, children of immigrants, who said, yeah, I may seem really nerdy and you may overlook me and not think I'm interesting at all, but if you looked really deep, really close, you would see that I'm a superhero hiding underneath this shrimpy glasses wearing, completely forgettable looking person. I'm Superman under Clark Kent. Spider-Man was supposed to be a reflection of Sam Lee, who likewise was teenage and geeky and people were overlooking him, but deep down, he's got these powers if he can show you what's really going on with him. We've got so many characters in superhero stories who are reflecting what they'd like to be, what they'd like to show the world. Characters who are afraid that they're invisible and overlooked. Characters who are forced to change their appearances to blend in, forced to change who they are for so many different audiences that they become shape changers. There have been many interesting movies made about such characters and using this as psychology. So let's take a look at just who are these characters before we get into their psychology. Mirabelle. Of course, in a world where everybody's got superpowers, if you are the one kid who doesn't have superpowers, you're going to feel left out, less than, miserable, conflicted, like you're doing something wrong. And that's her big conflict in this story, of course. And her song, Waiting on a Miracle, emphasizes this, that her rite of passage was supposed to happen, and it just didn't. When we start this up, we see her sharing the nursery, the children's room with Antonio, because she's not a grown-up by their standard. And she tends to be the one that everybody ignores, blames for stuff, the one who just didn't do what she was supposed to do through no fault of her own, of course. So many people are born a little different, not what the parents expected, not what the family would prefer. And there she is, not fitting well. Yes, in Harry Potter terms, she is a squib. She starts out very positive, very supportive of the little cousin with the animal powers and or very supportive of everybody. But even as she acts so friendly, so positive, so nice to everyone, she is in fact not okay. One of the little kids at the beginning, when she introduces everyone, says, "If I was you, I'd be really sad." And she says, "No, I'm not sad. I'm just as special as the rest of my family." But she knows that's not true or doesn't feel true. She can't keep down the unspoken, invisible pain. Is she in denial? Is she just trying to stay really positive here? Is she, feeling like she shouldn't be part of the family? Maybe a little bit of all of these. And of course, character is good characterization creates conflict, because a character is somebody who wants something more than anything in the world. If the character is totally happy, you've got no story. But when your Disney character is singing their I Want song, which is a characteristic of 90s Disney and has continued through some of these stories, you see how desperately the kid wants something, and that is pushing them to go on their quest and make it happen. Of course, she still has gifts, talents, wonderful things to share, but in a family that's obsessed with only this one, do you have a magical power or not? She feels like she doesn't fit. Further, as she quests, she's the one to pick up on the fact that there's cracks in the magic, in the family, in the house. She can see that they're not all as perfect and happy and stable as they keep insisting they are. Her siblings, Louisa. She's the oldest, and the fact that she's the oldest comes up a lot in dialogue. Why? Because it reflects her personality. She is the family protector. She is the one who, in her song Surface Pressure, she goes into lots of details, is protecting her younger siblings, holding everything together, insisting she's fine, she doesn't need help, whatever the incredible burden is, she can carry it, she can make it happen. And in fact, as her powers are crumbling, she continues to pretend everything is fine and that she can handle it. And her song Surface Pressure is about how close she is to cracking, even as she insists everything is fine. Mirabelle and I were having this little talk about how I was carrying too much, so I tried not to carry too much, but I realized it was putting me behind, and I knew I was going to let everyone down, and I felt really bad. She does not want to let everybody down. We have a society where Oh, if you're sick, you still need to go to work. Oh, if you're having a personal crisis, you still have to do this and that and the other thing. You still have to fulfill all your expectations, or people are going to judge you. And she's under so much pressure, and she's feeling anxious about her pressure, but she still keeps sucking it up and trying to lift everything, which becomes all kinds of metaphor. Isabella, the other sister, flower growing power. Yeah, her gift is technically growing flowers, but realistically, it's being perfect, beautiful, adorable, likable. Everything everybody wants from her. She is perfect. And being perfect this way also has loads of pressure. Both the sisters, in different ways, feel they have to get straight A's, never an A minus, never a slip up, never an oops. And even though she seems perky and positive, we see her totally in denial, not getting to be flawed, not getting to mess up, not getting to wear old sweats and get peanut butter in her hair. She is always perfect and precious looking. And this goes down to her perfect marriage, where she finally tells Mirabel, no, I was marrying the perfect guy to make my family happy. And this, of course, works as a deconstruction of all Disney about when the perfect princess marries the perfect prince, and they've only known each other 5 minutes, and so on and so forth. Maybe there's something wrong here, and this isn't going to really be as perfect as it looks. So much hides behind my smile. I spend my time making perfect practiced poses. She is being a Barbie doll. She looks perfect, but underneath, she is just so frustrated, so bored, doesn't have much of a life, is spending so much effort looking perfect at everything. And of course, so many viewers can really resonate with any of those three sisters, because at times we felt like all of them, haven't we? If we're in our starched perfect clothes, or if we're being asked how our grades are doing, or if we're trying to protect another family member, or if we are just not the same as everyone else. Sure. Bruno. He can see the future, and he offers all kinds of helpful warnings. In the song We Don't Talk About Bruno, which possibly you have played for yourself 10,000 times, although the movie came out a couple years ago at this point. In the song, he is actually blamed because on his sister's wedding day, he said, I hope you don't get terrible weather. And she made terrible weather happen. She freaked out and started panicking about it and couldn't let go. He is blamed because a goldfish died, because somebody got fat, because somebody got bald. Why did all that happen? Natural life, entropy, things just happen. It is normal for a goldfish to die and for people to get fat and bald and so forth. But the fact that Bruno warned it was going to happen puts us in this shoot the messenger situation where everybody decides that Bruno caused this. Is that fair? Of course not. Are they scapegoating him, blaming him for what happens in ordinary normal life? Yes, of course they are. But picture, what are we saying here? What's the deeper meaning? Among other things about scapegoating the odd one, the one that tells the truth, people don't want to hear the truth. When somebody says, actually, we do know what the problem is, we know exactly what's causing climate change, and we know what we have to do, Everybody says, yeah, we don't really want to listen to that. It's depressing. It's scary. It's going to be a massive change in how we function. So, no thanks. We shoot the messenger around here. So, Bruno gives up and leaves the family, except of course he doesn't. He could walk away and make a life absolutely anywhere else, but he feels so attached to and in love with his family that he doesn't walk out. We find that he's been living in the walls, just, watching his trained rats do fake TV for him. And when Mirabelle greets him, he says, yeah, of course I know who you are. I've been watching you, my niece, grow up and live your daily life. Nowadays, he might be watching them on social media, watching all of their Twitter posts and Instagrams and smiling at the family photos, but still not feeling he can really show up for Thanksgiving. So we've got so much pressure going on and so many characters, and Peppa was feeling so pressured about her perfect marriage that she made the bad weather magic happen and it rained on her wedding day. Sure. But instead of saying, yeah, I wasn't sure about this marriage and I was really tense and I made it rain, she says, no, Bruno cursed me and it rained. Instead of people going, I'm worried that I'm getting older, they go, no, it's Bruno's fault that I'm getting older. Everybody feels so much better with somebody they can blame. Dolores, the one with the super hearing, mentions it's a heavy lift with a gift so humbling, always left Abuela and the family fumbling, grappling with prophecies they couldn't understand. When people don't understand these prophecies, once again, they turn on Bruno instead of relaxing, letting things happen, taking time to think it through. No, they would rather strike out at Bruno. So Bruno leaves not just because he can't take their blame, but also because he feels like if everybody thinks he's so horrible, the family would be happier without him. Is this true? Not necessarily. At the end, the mom shows how much she missed him, but quite often when we have so much family tension, we feel like we can't handle it, and walking away really is the right choice. He tells Mirabelle, my gift wasn't helping the family, but I love my family. They don't talk about Bruno. Except in the song, they spend the whole thing talking about Bruno, of course, ironically, but also they're busy saying the worst things about him, their guesses, their blame, their scapegoating. Nobody says anything nice about he was our beloved brother and we wish he was here, and oh, he used to make me laugh as a kid. No, it's all these salacious, disturbing whispers. Giulietta can heal people with cooking. She's the mom of, Louisa and Mirabelle and the princessy sister. She loves everyone. She comforts everyone. Sure, she is the perfect mom. But in fact, she can't heal all the problems her daughters are having, even though, with the source of such love and comfort, they're feeling the need to bury it and be perky. Peppa controls the weather, and we get her backstory as she tells it in We Don't Talk About Bruno. Her mood affects the weather. If she's panicky, it storms. If she's happy, it's sunny. Well, to some extent, all of our moods affect the weather, or at least it feels like it. If we're depressed, the fact that it's cloudy or gloomy just feels like one more thing. If we're happy, we look out and go, oh, it's sunny, how perky, I'm having a great day. If it's sunny and we're gloomy, maybe we don't even notice. Vice versa, if we're happy and it's raining, maybe we go, well, the plants need it. we are very much affected by the weather. So this is another one of those psychologically true things. And like the others that we've been talking about, she has to frantically control herself every moment because if she lets her emotions out, it's going to storm or something. Sounds like she's got a lot of negative emotions bottled up. And all it takes is one comment from Bruno for them to crash out. Can you imagine the amount of pressure you'd feel if you made it rain, thunder, or hurricane every time you got upset or mad and it affected everybody? That is a lot of pressure to be under, something equivalent to lifting pianos. She goes around panicking, I'm thundering, and that thunder will lead to a drizzle, and the drizzle will lead to a sprinkle. I need to act happy every minute of every day so I don't cause a storm. Yeah, we've got a lot of characters in this house desperate to act happy all the time, don't we? Dolores, her daughter, can hear everything. There have been characters who can't turn their telepathy off or can't turn their hearing off in sci-fi and fantasy, and they tend to be miserable. They tend to be sitting there with pillows over their head going, oh my gosh, I need to turn it off. I need to turn it off. Daredevil has some of this going on in some of his adaptations, the Marvel character. This is also a lot of pressure to just we've talked about how much pressure all these other characters are under. Well, imagine being stuck listening to everybody else's panic and drama and misery and their desperate attempt to hide it all and be positive. She is just stuck absorbing everybody else's drama because she can hear all of it. And as she listens to all of it, she becomes more and more oversensitive in this vicious cycle. And she's probably having a truly miserable time with this. She's also heard Bruno, which she doesn't tell anyone, so you've got to picture her wondering if she's going crazy, wondering if she's hearing a ghost, feeling haunted. She's dealing with everybody's secrets. Mariano is going to propose to Isabella, but she wants him for herself. She is just so miserable. And she's a receiver. She doesn't really act out. She just absorbs what everybody else is dealing with. Camillo, the shapeshifter. He tends to be more the comic relief. We're not really feeling his deep issues, sure. And we see him using his shapeshifting abilities to support everybody. And he's trying to make people happy. But again, if we're doing the psychological approach, he's so determined to make everybody happy that, like his cousin who always appears perfect, Camillo is always appearing exactly what everybody needs. Oh, I'll be your best friend. I'll be your loving son. I'll be your supporter. I'll be the comedian. I'll be whatever you need this minute. And once again, this has him acting on behalf of others. All these characters are doing everything they do to take care of other people, which is all a nice goal. That's a nice thing to do. But if you're spending 100% of your time taking care of others and no time taking care of yourself, they're all feeling brittle, fragile, ready to crack, just like the house, because they're not dealing with their own stuff. They're just taking care of others. Antonio talks to animals. This is another childish, fun comic relief power, and also a power that, like the others, is rooted in empathy, is rooted in what can I do to help somebody else. In this case, all these animals have needs, don't they? So he's just starting out with his gift. We don't see him totally being in control of it. We see the animals controlling him. And as such, it's like all these different emotions bubbling up from within that he's trying to harness, trying to make help him instead of he's, drowning in them, but in fact, he is drowning in these chaotic animals, as we see in so many humorous scenes. Abuela. She did the original miracle with the candle. She built the house. The house is dependent on the candle. The house is dependent on her. She does not have other powers. And of course, she still holds everything together. She's not really the villain, as so many reviews pointed out. The story doesn't exactly have a villain. She's frustrating as she insists that they keep protecting the miracle, stay together, do everything she says, which is creating all this pressure that everybody's dealing with in a different way. But she's not really the villain. She's just desperate to keep everything intact, everything protected, everything safe. We swear to always help those around us and earn the miracle that somehow found us. The town keeps growing, the world keeps turning, but work and dedication will keep the miracle burning, and each new generation must keep the miracle burning. If the new generations are feeling all this pressure to keep the family heritage going, to marry in a way that keeps the family heritage going and have the next generation, to do everything grandma says, to support the family 100%, if they're feeling all these things, then they're not taking that time for themselves. As I said, good characterization creates conflict, and everything I've described, we've got a lot of conflict here, don't we? She feels they have to earn the miracle. Some amount of survivor guilt. She managed to get away with her babies and the magic candle and the house and safety, and she feels they have to work all day, each generation. It's been decades and decades, and they're still working to be worthy of this. If you get a scholarship, if you got some privilege someone else didn't get, and you feel you have to spend your whole time working for this because you owe it to someone because someone else didn't get the break, that's a lot of pressure too. At the end, she does change. She does accept what she's been doing. And she says, I was given a miracle, a second chance, and I was so afraid to lose it, I lost sight of who the miracle was for. She should be nurturing her family. She should be letting them live their lives instead of putting all this pressure on them. And of course, a number of characters finally end the story, like Mirabelle's sisters, accepting that they don't have to be perfect about everything, that they could show some flexibility, that they could leave behind the pressure for a while, that they could just live, which is where the story is trying to take the characters. Augustine, one of the outsiders, Mirabelle's dad, does not have a gift and didn't expect one, so he's also powerless. And there have been a number of characters in a number of stories, like the husband of Queen Victoria, the husband of Queen Elizabeth II. So many characters who have had to deal with, okay, I'm marrying into this family where everybody has these amazing, cool powers, and I'm just the husband, the dad. And he talks to Mirabelle about feeling unexceptional, but he's kind of a background character. Felix, similar. He's perky, sympathetic, comforting, of the high-strung women, his wife, his daughter, etc. But these dads can't shield everybody from all the craziness going on. I thought this article was just really brilliant in the depth that it went into. Oh, actually, wrong one. This is the one I wanted to look at. So brilliant in the depth it went into in looking at the psychology of all these characters. A psychological reading of characters is one way to do it, where you ask yourself, if I was a psychologist and taking a look at this character and that one and the other one, what would I determine about them? It's great to do with Batman villains. I've seen that at a panel at Comic-Cons and stuff. There are other ways to look at characters. One can do a symbolism reading, which is kind of what we were doing in the last one with, what does the flowers symbolize as a superpower, and what does the surface pressure symbolize as a superpower, and what does super hearing symbolize. One can do archetypes. This one is being the perfect mom, and what does that tend to mean? One can do relationships. One can do, this character reminds people of the author, what the author was going through when she wrote this one and that one. There are lots of different lenses to look at characters. How history would have regarded them, how feminist they are, or something like that. So these are all completely different ways to examine what's going on with the characters. But this psychological reading I thought was quite clever. All right. Encanto is a white-hot, wonderful mess. They're a huge magical family all stuck in this house together, like the novel 100 Years of Solitude, in which, yes, a family is stuck together for all these generations as they get stranger and stranger. Abuela Alma loses her home, flees with her children, looking for a miracle, and boom, the candle gives them Casita, the magical, self-aware, intelligent house. And 50 years later, everybody is happy, everybody is safe, the superpowers are being used to protect the wider community, and Abuela is controlling all the family members with the superpowers. However, the house is cracking and nobody's talking about it. Back to symbolism, the house, of course, represents the family, represents all of them, and it's not on a stable foundation. It's built on this trauma Abuela was feeling, and as they sit there, it's all starting to crack under them. Mirabel is investigating these cracks and making everyone matter because they've been coping, they've been managing, just holding themselves together. And if she looks into why everything's falling apart, they're going to have to deal with their trauma. And this sounds very heavy for a cartoon musical. Sure. Everything looks normal and happy on the surface, but everybody is traumatized deep underneath. Dr. Murray Bowen looked at dysfunctional family roles. If there's a really big problem in the family, how do the kids act, he asks. And he came out with this list. We have a hero and a martyr and a mascot and a manipulator and a black sheep and a lost child and the clown. And oh my gosh, these match up perfectly with all these Madrigal kids. The golden child, Isabella, is so perfect that she makes everyone happy and shows that their family really is doing well. However, like every golden child, the pressure to be flawless stunts Isabella's personality and stifles her real talents. And she wonders, what if I stop trying to be perfect and just let go? Which, of course, is also Elsa, who is also so repressed that she's sitting there with gloves and her hair bound back tightly. And Elsa is wondering, what if I just burst out of here? The mastermind. Peppa does let out all her emotional drama, and everybody has to keep her calm and pacified and fussed over so she doesn't burst out in thunderstorms. The caretaker, the martyr. Julieta and Luisa are busy sacrificing everything and again not taking any time for themselves so they can fuss over everybody. The lost child, Dolores. Yeah, she is so miserable from hearing everybody's problems. Speaks in a whisper, says nothing, listens to everything, keeps her head down in chorus. Can you blame her? Her power is obviously upsetting her. The clown, Camillo, is distracting everyone with his hilarious pranks, shape-shifting in order to distract people from their issues and their panics. The mascot, oh, he's so cute. Oh, he's so precious and perfect, similar to the golden child. And this is our animal trainer, Antonio. The scapegoat, Mirabelle, and also Bruno. Yeah, you're the one doing everything wrong. You're the one destroying this family. You shouldn't be doing what you're doing. If you stopped doing it, we'd all be in a healthier, better place. Abuela needs to blame somebody besides herself for the cracks in their house, and asking questions is what's destroying our family, she tells Mirabelle. And of course, Bruno was also scapegoated, wasn't he? A glowing-eyed villain, 7 feet tall with rats along his back. He is to blame for everything that happened in the village, so they say. But then he's just sweet, awkward, comes out to save his niece even though he's not comfortable with that. Vulnerable, broken. He's living in the walls, eating leftovers, just because he still wants to be part of the family that rejected him. He's made himself a little place setting where he can pretend he's still eating dinner with his family. He is that sad. He's a twitchy, tick-ridden disaster in his mid-30s who's been blamed and bullied for his whole life. So all of these characters, is he neurodivergent? Possibly. All these characters are forced together, dealing with Abuela's survivor guilt, desperation to protect her family, pressure to be perfect, pressure to not deal with their family trauma, which it was caused by being attacked. There have been various moments in Colombian history where there have been various uprisings and families were attacked, destroyed. And so it's a story about all the different kinds of family trauma they're all trying to process. And as such, it becomes a really interesting allegory for psychological trauma. And at last, Abuela. She gets out of the grief and violence and promises her babies they're going to be safe. She is going to keep everybody safe. She is not going to let anything bad happen to them ever again. She builds a fortress out of that trauma to protect her family, but it becomes a prison. They all feel like they're trapped by duty and love and can't leave. She's been cruel, but she's had a reason to be cruel. She's had a reason to be all panicky, and she just can't let go, can't relax. So all the generations are feeling so much pressure. As we've said, you have to protect the family. And then finally, as they build to a crisis, the house collapses. It's been built on this artificial concept, this artificial belief that everything is okay, but it's really not. So we're revealing what's happening behind it all. So that's several character readings in the fascinating film Encanto, which are all worth having a look at. And of course, you can apply this kind of a reading to any story. And that's always my point here.